So Richard, you are already reimagining human health and longevity. And that's what the leaders that we're gonna invite on stage are doing in each of their distinct sectors and industries. So to celebrate the march to 2030, we have invited some of our most respected speakers to deliver very short talks. These are 5-minute talks on their visions for the world in 2030. And Richard and I will be asking only one question of each of our speakers. So please welcome our first speaker to the stage. His name is Dr. Kai-Fu Lee, CEO of 01.ai. Big round of applause for him.
So, just a few words about Dr. Kai-Fu Lee, who I know very well, is a very dear friend, always good to have you. He's a recognized leader in AI with great experiences at Google China, Microsoft, Apple. Dr. Lee is also a best-selling author, mentor to many in China's AI community with almost over 50 million social media followers. So, my dear Dr. Kai, I have one question for you. One question. In fact, two, which I will combine at one, because it's too complicated to have only one while we have the advantage to be with you. So, how do you use AI in your everyday life? And at the same time, what is your advice to the youth about how to benefit from AI technologies? The past 3 days, everyone was talking about AI, but let's try to be concrete. How should we be involved on AI?
Okay, well, thank you very much. Such an honor to speak at the closing session. I've been working on AI for over 40 years, and it is exhilarating to see that it's come to fruition. And the first point I want to make is that, yes, we're looking at 5 to 6 year vision, but what's going to change in just the next 2 years will be phenomenal. If we want to see what's going to change in the next 2 years, let's look back at what happened in the last 2 years, or a year and a half. 2 years ago, ChatGPT was launched. Shortly after that, GPT-4. We're now a year and a half after GPT-4 was launched. And my company, 01.ai, has just launched a new model called E-Lightning that is better than GPT-4 and 500 times cheaper. So of course, other companies have also built great models and at lower costs. We are seeing technology getting better and better. We're seeing every year and a half or so, with additional computation, AI goes from a kindergarten to elementary school to high school, college, and soon PhD level. And that will help us do so many tasks in our lives, and we can almost predictably see what that it will do given the speed of change and the dramatic cost. Some of you might be a little skeptical and say, well, I don't see AI apps everywhere. And the answer is they are coming. And the reason I'm confident is that GPT-4 was the first great model, but it was too expensive. It's 500 times more expensive than the equivalent technology is today. Imagine if your cars became 500 times cheaper, your house or your phone. Wouldn't that make something completely proliferate the entire world? That's what's happening with AI. Costs coming way down. We've never seen anything costs coming down this quickly with incredible capabilities. So what are the set of things coming? First prediction is every app we use will be rewritten in such a way that it will be AI first and AI native. That means when you use a search engine, you're not typing words and getting links, you're asking a question and getting one correct answer, saving tons of time. And that's one of the tools I use every day. And when I write a speech or write a paper, I no longer write it myself. Microsoft Copilot is a good product to help me write, but in the future, AI should write everything for me. It should know me better than myself, and then I would just tweak it, which is, again, what I do every day, Richard. And so AI is basically progressing the same way that PC and mobile have gone. First letting us browse, then letting us create, then letting us search and organize. Then what's next? Multimodal. Pictures and videos. When I want to look for something, it should be enriched. And I want to be able to create multimedia content. And it should understand everything I write and every figure and everything I see. And that's multimodal. And after that, it should become agentic. That is, it's not only giving me text and images back, it can do things. When I tell it my wife's birthday is coming up, it will get her a cake, flower, and present on my behalf instantly without taking any additional time. So it will know me better than myself and get things done. That's the first phase. This is really a productivity phase, replacing every app, therefore creating huge investment and entrepreneurial opportunities. But there's a lot more beyond that. Beyond that, we should expect to see devices change. If this super smart thing, I just say a few words and things get done, why should I take out my phone, open my app? It should be another device that's with me all the time, listening to me all the time. When I speak, it does things. So it might be a ring, might be a watch, might be earrings, might be a pin. So a change in device will come after that. Then it will come in the environments, spatial AI, listening to us, understanding us. Right now, the data that's used to teach these large language models are text, increasingly images, video, speech. But in the future, it will roam the earth, just as Elon Musk talked about. These robots and autonomous vehicles, they're also data gathering and self-learning. And beyond that, we should expect AI to become more autonomous, more intelligent, more creative, able to think and learn on its own. And these are the expectations for the next 5 years. And the big question people have is, what does that leave for us? I'm a strong believer that we as humans are connected by love, by trust, and by self-consciousness. And despite everything that AI can do, it is really just liberating us from having to do routine tasks so that we can focus on our love, empathy, trust, and emotions and build a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaifouli, thank you.
So how would Cecilia feel if she gets flowers from you that were sent by an AI? No, she says, no.
She knows that AI robot would never have my taste, so no problem.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have our next speaker onto the stage. She is one of the most trailblazing women I've truly ever met in my entire life. Her name is Diane Eisnor, and she's the CEO of Cruise by Core, transforming construction with AI in the kingdom and beyond.
Thank you so much. Actually, I'm now the Chief Strategy Officer of WakeCap Technologies, which I announced I was selling to at the last FII in Rio, the largest Saudi construction software company. But that said, I've been working on, can I not stand there?
Please, of course.
I've been working on urban technologies for a very long time. Mobility through Waze, starting the Urban Systems Lab at Google, and the cities division of WeWork. Most recently, construction, because that was the biggest issue we were facing with preparing our cities for the future. And none of that has touched the most important issue facing us right now, and that is our urban economies and the future. We are sitting now at this explosion of technology, of opportunity that we've been talking about all week. And it's going to take place in cities. That will be the stage. Cities are opportunity, cities are finding your tribe, and cities are the density we need to launch entirely new industries from these technologies. So if I look at 2030 urban economies, they will be fueled by AI and robots and climate tech, and it's very exciting. But the reality we have today is that we have affordable housing crisis. Due to affordability, we have population decline in some cities. We have 15% only of the world's 1 billion full-time workers feel engaged with the work or that they have purpose. We have fear among the entire population, the uncertainty of what these technologies are going to bring. And then I think about this other statistic, which is that, pick an average recent year, 82% of wealth creation is going to the top 1%, and that's us. All that really means is that the economic engines we've relied on no longer fit the future. They don't fit these technologies. So what are the emerging business models that are going to support and drive these technologies to serve us? Well, I like to think about multiplayer models when I think about business. And there is one multiplayer model that has served us very well to some period in history, and this is franchising. And it sounds ridiculous, but it is about to get insanely cool. This is not fast food and car dealerships. This is about our ability to have, in each of our own cities, what we want from the best technologies around the world. This is a franchising of advanced technology, a network of access that will bring us lab-grown diamonds, lab-grown sushi. It will bring us biofabrication, where we're growing our own hearts and lungs and neurons. It is advanced manufacturing. Basically, anything with a robot and a lab can be part of this franchising of advanced technology. Let's call it FAT, because it's going to be relevant to what we're saying. Okay, we're going to call it FAT. Franchising of advanced technology. Before I get into that, I do want to say, do you know franchising comes from French? It means to free from servitude. So in 2030, we free ourselves from servitude with these new models that allow for us to think about things like re-intermediation. So technology has driven us toward a perfect capitalism where there is very little friction between supply and demand. We like this. However, maybe we inject a little bit of fat, because there are a couple of myths about recent models, like, for example, gig work, but also disintermediation being only good for the consumer. In fact, it has consolidated more ownership and potentially constrained the original companies from their potential growth. So this has a chance to really fuel our future, and definitely within our cities. We have now the capability of remote operation and quality control and a global workforce that's going to allow us to be training. So there's no company that has these physical locations that can't start this right now. The big technology companies and our local entrepreneurs are going to be able to co-create how we unleash our economic potential in cities, and the cities will decide. They will say, this is relevant to me, I want a longevity center, well, I need access to specifically, urgent care. I want lab-grown diamonds, no, I want sushi. So technology this existential really needs us to lead and make sure that the models we're creating are leading the technologies into options that are going to lift us all up, create and distribute opportunity. This is our ability to connect citizens and cities to the growth engines of the future, and it's already within sight. We are going to do this by 2030. This is technology that serves us. This is us creating safety, opportunity, and superintelligence in our cities. This is technology serving us. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one question for Deanne, and my question for you is, as the CEO of WakeCap, how are you positioned to usher that new urban economy?
So I'll just say I'm CSO. Once again, clarifying, my CEO is sitting right there, by the way. So how are we going to usher it in? Well, basically, WakeCap is working with most of the, many of the Saudi Giga projects. We're working on these cities. We're mandated on every Aramco project. We are helping build the infrastructure in a very safe, efficient way that's going to actually get our building done in time so that cities are ready for these new industries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To talk about how food will look like in 2030, you're curious about that, we'd like to welcome to the stage the founder and CEO of Uvera Incorporated, Dr. Asrar. Damdam, round of applause for her, please. Food in 2030.
Thank you.
You were recognized also on the Forbes 30 under 30, so we are very happy to have you here because we need to give a voice to the young leaders, so please.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, esteemed guests. My name is Asrar Damdam. I am a scientist and entrepreneur with a PhD in food preservation technologies and the Internet of Things. In the past years, I've dedicated my career to exploring innovative solutions at the intersection of food, technology, and sustainability. And it's an honor today to share with you how I envision the future of food by the year 2030. Let me begin by a simple but profound truth. Food, water, and climate are deeply interconnected. Agriculture alone consumes 70% of our fresh water resources. And in a world struggling with water scarcity, the cost of food extends far beyond our economics. And it's a strain on our most vital resource, which is water. So if we are to secure a sustainable future, we must reimagine how we grow, handle, and value food. But today, I stand before you not to recount challenges, but to illuminate opportunities. I envision a future where innovation can transform scarcity into abundance. Consider a future where technology brings life to the desert. Imagine AI-powered greenhouses, vertical farms, aquaponics, and hydroponics that exist in arid areas, in places once thought too dry to produce anything. These technologies will not only grow food, but it will save water and it will help community be more resilient. And this rapidly growing sector is a powerful testament to how we can turn scarcity into abundance. Now imagine the transformative impact of extending the shelf life of fresh foods, a mission that my company Uvera has championed. 5 years ago, extending the shelf life of fresh food was a vision. Today, it is a reality. And by the year 2030, it will be the new norm. Technologies like mine and like other technologies, like other companies that focuses on reducing food waste will help reduce the global food waste, which currently accounts for 1/3 of the food produced for human consumption. And this will not only save resources, but it will also boost food availability for those in need, and will help fortifying global food security in future. And in this future, plant-based and cell-cultured protein will not be simply an alternative. I believe it will be an essential source of nutrition. Embracing innovations in this space will significantly lower our environmental footprint. Less water, less lands required for agriculture, and most importantly, less greenhouse gases emissions. This shift will not only benefit the planet, but it will also diversify the nutrition for the growing population sustainably. Finally, food in 2030 is not only about the environment. It's also about our health. It's about how we choose what we eat. That's why I envision the adoption of a new concept called the food compass. The food compass is a nutrient profiling system, a very comprehensive nutrient profiling system that will help us wisely choose what we eat. It's currently under development in some research group, but I believe we will be able to use it by 2030. So by 2030, we will be able to take wiser decisions about what we eat, and for the food industry, they will have to prioritize health and nutrition in their food offerings. By 2030, I believe we will witness a food revolution driven by innovation and sustainability and health. And it will be a world where water resources are cherished, food waste is a relic of the past, and our diets reflect a harmonious relationship with Earth. So as we look forward to the year 2030, let us do so with hope, optimism, and vision. A sustainable, healthier future is within reach, and together we will achieve it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asrar. We're a little over time, so I'm going to ask you to take your seat.
If you allow me, I have a live survey to conduct, you know, because when I'm hearing this prediction, who do agree with Elon Musk, who predicted 2 days ago that in 10 years from now, we'll have 10 billion robots in our humanity? Who is aligned with him?
Raise your hands if you agree.
Raise your hand, please. So, who do not agree? Thank you. Very interesting. Large majority doesn't agree. So let's see. Hope we will be all in good health by 2030, but in 10 years from now.
With your initiatives, we will surely be, Richard.
Thank you.
And now we welcome Marc Lore. He is chairman and CEO of the Wonder Group. Welcome Marc Lore to the stage. Can we give him some applause, ladies and gentlemen? Yes.
Marc is not just an expert on food industry. I have to mention for people after, if you want to talk about basketball, he is also an NBA owner. And we will ask some prediction from you, if you don't mind. Marc, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's a great honor to be here. I thought it's fitting, given how much we talked about AI, to on the fly, in real time, right now, ask ChatGPT to write this speech, at least the start of it. So, write a speech convincing people that food is medicine. Okay, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine a medicine that prevents chronic illness, strengthens our bodies, boosts our energy, sharpens our minds, and improves our mood, all without the side effects. This medicine exists. It's the food we eat every day. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said it best: let food be the medicine and medicine be the food. This goes on and on. There's paragraphs of it. It's unbelievable, the power of AI. That wrote that right in real time. I was going to talk about how food is the ultimate preventative medicine. We've talked about throughout the last few days about how AI is going to equalize healthcare, democratize it, but it still comes down to the food that we eat. Okay, and let me tell you how AI is going to impact that. For the last 3 years, lunch and dinner, every meal that I've been at home, which is most of the time, AI has told me exactly what I was eating. So I would basically just say what time I'm eating, the food would show up, and I would eat it. The first few months was a little rocky after, basically giving it feedback. I don't like this, I like that. But over time, also with additional data around my blood results, stool and saliva tests to know what foods I'm sensitive to, what deficiencies I have. Basically, AI is taking all that into account and deciding what I eat. I set health goals, and it basically just delivers food that I like every single meal. And pretty much now, I'm not even giving it any feedback. I'm basically happy with every meal, perfectly healthy, and I think this is the future. I think the future is one in which we take agency out of having to decide what to eat, which also is very time-consuming, but also I think has the opportunity to transform our health. And it is. It's transformed my own health. I love the food I'm eating. I can't wait to sit down and eat, and I'm surprised with every meal. And that is the future. And at Wonder, the startup that I created, we're basically building the infrastructure to be able to power that. So we've created basically fixed restaurant locations. They have kitchens in the back. They have the ability to cook 30 different cuisines and 600 different meals very fast, very efficiently, with very lightly skilled and lightly trained labor, very consistently. We set a very tight 6-minute delivery radius, so we're able to deliver food to people super fast. So we imagine a future with this level of automation in the kitchen, being able to know exactly what you need and what you want and be able to deliver it to you, starting in the US and then eventually all over the world. It doesn't need to be us doing all of the sort of infrastructure and powering it in terms of food. The AI could live and others could use it as well, but we do see that as a big opportunity to elevate the health of everyone in the world. And we think it's coming because I've been doing it.
Marc, in addition of this work, I know you are imagining a new city called Telosa. Can you, in 1 minute and 30 seconds, tell us what is this city?
Telosa?
Telosa, yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't expecting that question, but working on, testing a new model for society with a city called Tolosa, where it's more equitable, where the land is initially owned by the Tolosa Foundation, and then as people move there and the land appreciates, Tolosa would then sell the land, create an endowment, and use that money to provide the most advanced social services for free to the citizens. So the big idea is that people aren't getting the benefit from appreciating land, from creating cities and communities, and in Tolosa they would. All the appreciation of the land would come back to the citizens, so we can have, it would be in the US, a city with normal taxes, but with the best free social services of any city in the country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marc.
Please, a round of applause for Marc.
So he's inviting us over for dinner at his house and to Tolosa as well. We need to ask you about the NBA championship when we're done. Extreme weather is an issue that we have seen truly plague almost every corner of the world because of climate change. So to talk about what this will look like in 2030, I'd like to welcome to the stage Angela Wilkinson. She is the Secretary General and CEO of the World Energy Council.
Thank you. Before I go to the future, I'd just like to go a little bit into the past. It was a very dark and stormy night in 1988 when I bumped into Professor Herbert Lamb, one of the UK's pioneering climatologists. And I mean literally, my car aquaplaned and rear-ended his car. Let me assure you, he was jolly nice about it, and I didn't lose my job as a postdoc in climate change impact assessments. Last night, I spent an hour on the phone to my father, who lives in southern Spain. He is surrounded by flooding, but he's safe and well. What connects these two events 40 years apart is extreme weather events. The increasing frequency and violence of extreme weather events is something that we're all beginning to talk about. Heat waves, flash flooding, hurricanes, typhoons, ice storms, forest fires are regular news headlines. All life support systems, all industrial systems and regions of the world are being affected. How extreme is extreme? This summer, 3 1-in-100-year events occurred in France. How will we triple nuclear power if we don't have access to reliable water? 2 months back, 20 million people were situated on rooftops in southern Brazil when it flooded. Now droughts are disrupting hydro plants across Latin America and Africa, driving demand for gas and oil. The shock of Hurricane Milton and 91 flash floods and numerous fires in the USA in 1 year. And not forgetting the heat waves of 2015, which affected the Gulf region, India, Pakistan, and Southeast Asian countries. The Valencia flood is an example of what's called a cold drop. ChatGPT it. And the fatal combination of heat and humidity is called a wet bulb event. It has yet to hit threshold, but when it does, we will be talking 20 million plus deaths. The most vulnerable are the hardest hit. I came in from the Belt and Road Ministerial, and the Energy Minister of Honduras was talking about 2 hurricanes in 2 weeks at $20 million cost. Now that's an unlucky strike. We can't put the genie back in the bottle. Only 6% of people now believe that 1.5 degrees is possible. The IPCC expects 2 degrees and a quadrupling of heat wave effects by the end of the century. Now, if we want every decimal point and every life to count, we have to think that every additional 0.1 degrees centigrade is millions more affected populations. Climate adaptation and repair must now go hand in hand with climate mitigation. The good news is there's no shortage of technology or money, but Mother Nature is shuffling the deck. What might she say to us today after listening to the conversations about infinite horizons? Finance. There is no revenue stream for climate adaptation or resilience. Can you change that? Data and AI. How much more energy will you need? Sustainability. A single issue agenda is a recipe for disaster. You need a multidimensional approach. Humanity has a new North Star by 2030. We have designed our institutions for stability and predictable risk control. We now need to reorganize our societies for transformation and emergence. We've exhausted the unlimited growth model. We must now design our markets for regeneration and resilience. We are using digital data and AI and improving physical risk assessments and enabling radical transparency. Now we need to have the courage to look at ourselves in the mirror. It's wonderful to inspire transformations, and it's vital to progress multidimensional transitions. Change will not be fast or slow, but sudden and everywhere. And the greatest regret will be being too late. The best way to reduce the costs of acting early is to use all levers of change, financial, technological, and most of all, the missing social transformation lever in making wiser choices. Transformation is a new leadership mindset, not a one-size-fits-all or straight-line journey. Transformation is leveraging synergies, policies, incentives, and collaboration choices. Transformation is a new space for conversation, where we actively listen and learn from diverse geographies and across generations about what is working and what is not. Thank you.
Angela, when I see what happened in Spain, in France, in some part of the world where really I was not expecting to see so huge catastrophe these past few days, what part of the world are the most vulnerable now on extreme weather?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say it's not just the weather, it's also what's happening in terms of how we manage resources. So if I was just to pick one thing off the top of my head, I would say the Indo-Gangetic Plain, which is the watershed that India, China, and Russia depend on, is at a hotspot of water stress. How many climate change events, extreme weather events, do you need to tip that into ecological disaster, into social disruption and mass migration?
Thank you.
You were wonderful, Angela.
Thank you,
Big round
Angela.
of applause. We now welcome to the stage Daniel Yergin, Vice Chairman of S&P Global, to talk about what energy will look like in 2030. Let's greet him on to our FII stage.
Daniel is also a very dear friend, a Pulitzer Prize winning and expert, of course, on energy. Daniel, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Richard and Mariana, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. You have to be a little modest about talking about what's going to happen in 2030, because think back to 2020, who would have seen a pandemic, 2 wars, and this revolution coming with AI? With that said, I would certainly like to say that we're going to continue to see profound changes in energy. But I think in a way we heard a little bit of that from Angela, that it's not going to be this linear transition, which has been the thought that's been out there. It's going to be a multidimensional energy transition, different technologies, different mix, different pace, different priorities, different regions will be approached in different ways. And it really means that this energy transition will also be something else, which we can call energy addition. And the reasons for it are a number of reasons. One, the voice of the Global South has really been missing from the discussion about energy transition. It's going to get louder and more profound because of the scale of consumption in those countries, and also because their voice is going to be heard more clearly. So that's a reason for it. A second reason is the very scale of it. You're talking about changing a $110 trillion world economy in 5 years or in 25 years. You have to be a little more modest about it and realize that all the other energy transitions took over a century to get what they are. So we have to lodge this in history. Energy security is back on the agenda. Supply chains are very important. And minerals, that the energy transition is going to be more intensive in terms of mineral use. So what does this mean for traditional energies? Energy addition. Oil and gas are going to be part of the mix. Oil is growing, natural gas continuing to grow, but greater focus on emissions, greater focus on technology adaptation. And bringing the technical skills of this great industry to bear to address the questions now on the agenda. Nuclear, we're going to hear a little bit about it, but nuclear has truly having a revival of interest and much more driven by the private sector, which is different than in the past. In terms of new technologies, it was around 2010 that wind and solar became competitive. Now they're conventional energies too, a very big growing part of the mix. One question, of course, is where is hydrogen going to fit into the system? I think we'll see over the next 5 years what scale it gets to. Hydrogen's already used, but it will be used more intensively. And we're seeing tremendous focus on innovation. You hear it all through this, through the FII. AI really is in two phases. One phase is, of course, a lot more electricity use. The number is that by 2030, the United States, 10% of its electricity will go to AI. And we heard from Kei-Fu about how revolutionary it will be. The question is, what impact will it have on energy consumption? That we will find out. So what does this mean for Saudi Arabia to tie it into FII? Saudi Arabia, of course, because of its endowment, because of Saudi Aramco, is a foundation of the world economy today. But we can see its role growing, and I've really been struck by this 8th edition, kind of what I've learned here about the expanded role. The role of Saudi Arabia in supply chains is so much clearer than it was even a couple of years ago, and the key role that it will have. And its endowment, of course, oil and gas has been part of its endowment, and its strong importance, but that's going to grow now because of this other endowment that nobody really thought about on a global term before, which is electricity, because Saudi Arabia is going to have very low-cost electricity and very green electricity, which is going to make it very competitive in the world and will be a magnet tied in with investment, with innovation, with human capital to be a much bigger player in the energy system in a global way, because who would have thought 5 years ago that electricity would be so important? So all of this means, I think, with these ingredients of what Saudi Arabia has, with the technology, the innovation that we recognize, that Saudi Arabia, in fact, will have a crucial and growing role both in supplying the world's energy and in leadership in the world community. So thank you very much.
We're going to wrap it up.
Thank you, Daniel.
We're over time, Daniel, but we're going to wrap it up with that good statement that you mentioned in the end. Thank you for that. So we have talked about the vision for food, for urban economies, energy, weather. What will space look like in 2030? For that, we welcome Cam Ghaffarian to the stage. He is the founder and executive chairman of Intuitive Machines, Axiom Space, Quantum Space, and X Energy. Welcome.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. You know, since I was a 6-year-old, I was mesmerized by stars. I would be sleeping outside, look at the stars, and I was like, is this possible that there are people living in other stars? And that sort of propelled me into space exploration. And I have created 3 commercial space companies. Just very quickly tell you, February 2024, Intuitive Machine was the first private company in the history of humankind landing on the surface of the moon successfully. And I'm so proud of that. We're building multiple moon landers. Our next moon lander will be going to the surface of the moon first quarter next year. That's Intuitive Machine. Axiom Space, we're building the first private commercial space station, and that will replace International Space Station, and we will be launching our first module by end of 2026. Quantum Space, we're building the next generation of multi-purpose satellites that can help with debris, refueling other satellites, or take other satellites to precision orbits. And I'm so proud to say my company, X Energy, which is the world leader in advanced nuclear, just 2 weeks ago signed the largest SMR nuclear deal with Amazon to power the Amazon AI data centers, just to give you a sense. But I wanted to just sort of expand this a little bit further. When I was at our moon launch in February, I predicted something, not for 2030, but by 2055, that we will be in an era that we will have hourly launches to a space city outside Earth, 250 miles or 400 kilometers above, where there will be people living, working, manufacturing capabilities, and we'll be actually doing incredible things. I mean, literally a city with artificial gravity and all of that. Hourly launches. I predicted that we will have daily launches to the moon. And we will have a habitat on the surface of the moon with people working, living, and all of that. And I predicted that we will have a weekly launches to the surface of Mars, again with people living and working there, and have a habitat there. This is the one that is more interesting. I also predicted that quarterly basis, we will have launches to other stars outside of our solar system. Now, why do I say that? I just want to share something really interesting, which not many people pay attention. We believe, all of us as a humanity, that we're really a big thing on this planet. Let me just give you a sense. If we just leave our solar system, we get past the moon and Mars, and we get outside of our solar system, we're in our galaxy called Milky Way. The distance from one point of our galaxy to another is 100,000 light years. So if you go with the speed of light, it will take 100,000 years to go from one point of our galaxy to another. There are 400 billion stars, just like our own sun, in our galaxy alone, with planets around them. Now, if you thought that was phenomenal, let me even expand your mind even further. Let's say that we leave our galaxy. Do you all know how many other galaxies exist in the universe? 2 trillion other galaxies we believe that exist in the universe based on James Webb Space Telescope. And some of those galaxies are maybe 1 million or billion times larger than our own galaxies. You see, we are such a small piece. The reason I share that is because space unifies humanity. It brings us together. The astronauts I have sent to space, including being so proud to send 2 Saudi astronauts in 2022 to International Space Station, first female from the Arab world, Rihanna, that we sent to space. For all of them that I've done, when they come back, they're transformed. Because when they go around Earth every 90 minutes, they realize there are no borders. And there is this beautiful blue globe that's protected by this thin layer of atmosphere. And so we realize that at the end of the day, we are one race, human race, and until we come together and realize that we're one, we're not moving to the next level. So when we look at it in the context of the universe, that should bring us together and realize that we are a very small piece. Let me just tell you one other thing. They've asked scientists, based on the size of the universe, how many planets in the universe are capable of holding intelligent life? Can you imagine that? We believe there are maybe 1 trillion planets in the universe that may be holding intelligent life. If that's the case, I don't think we're alone. And there are many other planets, and our ultimate destiny is to go to stars. So very quickly, 2030, humongous improvement in transportation business with Starship, with New Glenn, by different companies. My company, Axiom Space, will have a space station in orbit, and we will be creating a new economy called LEO economy, low Earth orbit economy, where we will be producing orbital data centers, pharmaceuticals. In fact, today we're capable of printing, bioprinting corneas and retinas in space. By 2030, we will be able, in microgravity environment, when I say microgravity, that's where there is no gravity, and therefore molecules go where they need to go, bioprints hearts and lungs, and maybe drop them to different hospitals. There will be also incredible amount of new technologies in terms of lunar technology. We just won a contract to create satellites around the moon, and there will be habitat on the surface of the moon. Human beings will be walking on the surface of the moon. So all of that is going to grow, but all of that is to improve state of humanity and human knowledge.
Cam, thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you so much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the good news is that FII 63 will be in one of these galaxies. Andrew.
Thank you so much. What will the Olympics look like in 2032? We all tuned in to the spectacular show that was put on in Paris, and to tell us what that will look like in the future, we have Mr. Andrew Liveris with us today. Round of applause for him, please, the former chairman and CEO of the Dow Chemical Company.
So, Dow Chemical to the Brisbane Olympics, that's quite a journey. What have they got in common? You have to be fit, you have to be agile, you have to love life, and you have to look at infinite horizons, which is the theme of this conference this year. I've been to 8 FIIs, and this infinite horizons that you've put in place, your challenge for health, Richard, and I admire what you've done. The Olympics is the embodiment of the human race, Cam. The human race has to be here on Earth. Hope, belief, what we do to pass the torch to future generations. What we have to do is set in motion all the parameters my fellow speakers have talked about and bring it to the 21st century. I would argue to you that the Olympic rings and the Paralympics Agitos are the only two brands that are fit for purpose for the 21st century. Most global institutions that were set up for the 20th century have failed. And I'm being very, very direct about that. Pick your favorite global institution. We have to give rebirth to the way humanity runs the human race, undertakes all the things that matter to us. What matters to us? Equity, equality, inclusion, togetherness, fairness, accessibility. What matters to us is embracing digital so it's not a threat, Mr. Musk. It's an opportunity of the type we've heard also on this panel. What about environment? What about social governance? What about the things that constitute the word sustainability? The epicenter of what the Olympics has meant, from the ancient Olympians who put down their weapons at time of war, so the city-states could learn that the only competition that mattered in the human race was, in fact, fairness, nutrition, excellence, athleticism. That's not an elite topic. That's a topic for everyone. What we have done with the Olympic movement and under Thomas Bach, this next notion of faster, higher, stronger, together, is something called the new norms. Paris showed us games wide open, the beginning of the new norms. Los Angeles will take it to another level. Brisbane 32, our centerpiece, is in fact inclusion. Already our new motto, shine brightest together. And we're going to put that in place in the digital century. We're going to make health, well-being available for the children of the world so that obesity, diabetes, the killers that kill all of us, get overwhelmed and overtaken by the technology we bring to bear, and we will showcase that with the Olympics. The Olympics in the 21st century and how we can absolutely, totally put it as an experience. Why are we all working harder? What is this point about work? Is it dollars and real? Is it money? No. It's for families and friends and neighborhoods and communities to have experiences, leisure, fun. It's okay. It's okay to do that. We will showcase that. We will showcase it before, during, and after the events. So what is the notion that brings us to infinite horizons here in KSA? Look at what 2030 is bringing to KSA. Already the Equestrian World Cup, already Live Golf, which I'm a member of and loving every minute of it. The FIBA Asian Basketball Cup, the inaugural Olympics e-games. There's 23 million e-gamers in this country. Wow. I mean, think about what we can do here as we open up the bid for the FIFA World Cup in 34, as we even think about bringing Olympics and Paralympics to this nation. This nation is rising by showing the way the world should operate, not the way the world did operate. So what's the role of sports? The role of sports is to transcend over so that all humans see it as part of their life. In Brisbane, We've already adopted the motto, lifestyle superpower. Yeah, Australia's a pretty nice country to live in, but it's a pretty hard country to visit. By the time we're done, hypersonic travel, digital travel, you will come. I'm available for tickets, let me know. With that, thank you very much for hearing out.
Thank you, Andrew, thank you. One thing is absolutely sure, guys, is by 2032, the prediction is that the Olympics will be in Brisbane, so at least we know that. And we'll be with you. So, we are almost at the end, and it's my great pleasure to welcome on stage a man who I am honored to call a dear friend for years. In fact, I will share a little secret with you. I started in this country years ago, thanks to this gentleman who was behind the strategy, of course, under the leadership of the late King Abdullah, on bringing investors to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So His Excellency Fahd Al-Rasheed serves as an advisor in the General Secretary of the Council of Ministers of Saudi Arabia. He chairs also the Saudi Convention and Exhibition General Authority, and he represents Saudi Arabia on the Urban 20 and holds board membership with multiple organizations. And of course, previously, it's important to mention, because this will be part of our conversation, he led the Royal Commission for Riyadh City and King Abdullah Economic City, which definitely help also to be top cities by 2030, but more importantly, he's a man also under the leadership of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and His Majesty the King Salman to bring Expo 2030 to the Kingdom. His Excellency Fahd Al-Rasheed.
Well, can I start with a question?
You are now changing
Yes,
the role.
yes,
Oh my
I'm
God.
changing the role. Just for 1 second.
Tell me.
So you've done an incredible job with your team. Thank you so much. And it's the last hour of this. Happy Halloween. What's your costume for tonight?
What is?
Your costume for Halloween.
For Halloween.
I will discover that when I will be back home, because tonight, unfortunately, we don't have time to celebrate Halloween, but definitely, if I had to pick one, you know, when I'm hearing this prediction, I think we need you ready to wear a costume to go to space. Like it's happening tomorrow. Huh? I think we should go together.
Definitely.
So, my dear, Your Excellency, dear Fahad, you are probably maybe the one and only who was in charge of, at the same time, an economic city, like King Abdullah Economic City, and also you were running, as a CEO, one of the largest capital, Riyadh. So how were you managing both, and what did you get from the both experiences, and how did you lead these two strategies?
I think we've been talking so much the past 3 days about artificial intelligence, autonomous cars, flying taxis, all of these technologies that will change our world. But we take for granted our space, our cities. It is the place that is the biggest and largest investment humanity has ever made. You know that the size of only the housing stock of the world is $380 trillion. That's larger than all of the gold reserves at $13 trillion, larger than the global equity markets at $100 trillion, larger than GDP at $110 trillion, and larger than even debt, $130 trillion. But most importantly, we invest our lives in it. Your lives, your professional life, the livelihood of your children, your family, your friends, everything is cities. And what's most important is climate action has to happen in cities because we produce 70% of global emissions. So anything we do, we have to do in our cities. So when we approached both the new city, a startup city, King Abdullah Economic City, or the city of Riyadh, which is now one of the largest cities in the world, in fact, top 50 city in the world, you have to approach them from a citizen and human-based perspective, right? Because although we're talking about artificial intelligence and all of these technologies, what makes our cities special is human-centric design. It's, again, simple ideas, big ideas, mixed use, public transport, public parks, the things that we love about our cities.
What cities inspire you the most today?
I think the reality is you have cities that have been resilient, reinvented themselves, and become very successful. And all of the large cities that become global cities are inspiration for us. If it's Tokyo, London, New York, and many, many others that have done it so well. I think Riyadh is getting there. We're already, like I said, top 50, and I think we are going to be top 10 very soon.
You love urbanization. You are an expert, a master on that. So you always tell me, okay, we talk a lot these past 3 days about the content. What will happen in terms of technologies, of tourism. But to have great content, you need to have a beautiful box. So how do you see, what do you think should be the DNA, the main principles of building the most beautiful environment?
I think we can talk about the design of cities, from the old designs of a grid system, a multipolis, or even the line. Right? These are forms. Cities have systems also. There's systems of energy, of provision of water, of mobility, etc. These are system designs, and they will improve over time. Artificial intelligence, actually, I think, will mostly impact that. But I think what I see around the world is our cities need to adapt for us. So if artificial intelligence is going to change the world and it's going to change our labor markets, we need informed, enlightened urban leaders who can help us adapt, who can help us migrate into a new world. So we need leadership that is enlightened, which means it's data-driven, stakeholder-driven, but also humane and inclusive. And I think that's the biggest challenge for 2050.
How do you use AI in your day-to-day job?
I use it now for everything. I didn't ask it to write this one. This speech is too good for AI, but it's going to get there.
Anyway, I know that we are sharing at least one conviction in common, which is that in this digital world, where we are going, you are still a strong believer of bringing people together.
Yes.
And so how does bringing people together in person impact humanity?
During COVID, during the lockdown, I thought very much about how the world would change for our industry, the MICE industry, the conventions, exhibitions industry. And I thought, it's not going to be about quantity anymore. It's not about the number. It's also going to be about the quality. So only events like the FII, and what you do is art, by the way, it's not science, it's absolute art, is going to survive. The reality of the matter, going virtual has allowed you and I, instead of meeting once in a year at an event, to now meet 8 to 10 times in different geographic regions. And that intensity of increasing connection with people actually resulted in us needing to meet more in person because we're connecting more. So I believe that these events that we create and curate together, really as human beings, they bring us together, they increase the level of trust, the level of knowledge, and cross-investment are only going to be more important. And that's why, my friend, thank you for everything that you've done for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. You have been a great friend. Thank you for what you've done for the FII. And it's been amazing. Thank you.
You are too kind, and thank you for your inspiration. Expo 2030, it's an amazing opportunity to bring people together. What will be the key principles of Expo 2030?
I think the Expo has been a great win for the country under the leadership of His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, because it brought countries together. It was the highest win in the history of Expo. Because we told everybody around the world that this is your expo. It's called a World Expo because it is a World Expo, and it has to be everybody's expo. And in the same way to Vision 2030, it is about a foresighted tomorrow. We talked about the future. We have to predict, we have to manage risk, even though we don't know the outcome, and that's the truth. We don't know what's going to happen in 5 years, in 20 years, and 30 years. But we as human beings have to have foresight, which means look to the future, identify risk and opportunities, and manage them, rather than let the future come to you, go to it. And that's, I think, a foresighted tomorrow is what the Expo is going to be about.
We cannot wait. 2050, how do you see Riyadh in 2050?
I think it's going to be the most incredible city in the world. We are building one of the largest parks in the world, the largest metro and public transport system ever made. Some of the most unique projects in the world are happening in Riyadh. But I think cities ultimately are about people, and I think cities like Riyadh are designed around unleashing people's potential. People are complaining about traffic. Traffic is success. Because you see our highways, they're not small. They're not built for a small city. You see the city being built like in a grid system, like New York. But the reason you have so much traffic is that you, our friends, are here visiting us, and we celebrate it with you. I hope you see the city of Riyadh as your city. I hope you come often. I hope you move here.
My last question. In few weeks, mid-December, you have decided to make Riyadh also the capital of the mice industry, bringing all the big players from the world on everything they do, on conferences, on exhibition. This is a huge industry, and if you have some data, we'll be very happy to hear from you. Why did you make that decision, and how do you envision that this global platform will be, and what will be the impact in terms of jobs, in terms of inspiration? What is your dream on that?
Well, the kingdom is a G20 economy growing at a fast pace. Our non-oil GDP is growing at around 7%. Our MICE industry, the industry of events, has to follow. And I think the change in Vision 2030 has ushered in a new era for the events industry in Saudi Arabia. We have grown from 11,000 events to 17,000 events this year, from 19 to 2023. But it's not enough. We have to do more. We have to go, I think, 40, 50,000 events by 2030. And my colleagues...
40,000?
Yes, to 50,000. You choose that number. I'm good. Put a target. I say put a target because he is my partner in crime. He's the convener of conveners. So we're going to host this together. This summit is going to be in partnership with you. We're going to bring the global professional organizers and talk about them, about the future of the industry, how we can not just create jobs because of the industry, not just promote destinations, but create partnerships through meetings. And thanks to you for your commitment to that event.
Oh, thank you for your trust, and I know that you will be once again leading one of the most important, inspiring platforms with great outcomes. Last question. We are watched by a lot of young people, not only from Saudi Arabia. Yesterday we had thousands and thousands of people watching from the Global South. And everything we discuss here is a big hope for them because they see the emergence of the Global South. Africa, many countries in South Asia, and of course in this part of the world and Latin America. What is the advice that you give to all these young people, young entrepreneurs, who sometimes, you know, they don't see a lot of light in their tunnels? So what is the advice that you will give them as a leader who really builds cities and try to bring quality of life everywhere?
I came from nothing. And the one thing I believe in is education. So you have a hero, Daniel Yergin, Yergin is here with us. 25 years ago, I wanted to go into the energy industry, and I read your book, The Prize, and I went to Saudi Aramco to work. But my passion, I mean, you can't be sitting there and say, I wanted to build cities. So I played SimCity for 30 years, and I ended up managing 2 cities. So I think work hard, study, read, and reach out for the skies.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for His Excellency Fahd Al-Rasheed.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency.